Shabbat shalom, everyone. Wasn't Mountaintop Shabbat amazing? Like, it was, we counted 680 people on top of Ajax last week, and we received so many compliments for Mountaintop Shabbat, and I felt so great until someone told me that we should have had 2 buffet lines for breakfast. And then I got a second complaint about something else. And then I got a third complaint about something else. And that is what I have been awake every night this week thinking about. Those 3 complaints. I know. And I was replaying them. I know. You should all feel. And then I was replaying them over and over and over in my head until my brain started doing something even worse. I started thinking about next year. And I was thinking about the fact that next year, there is no way we're going to get 680 people on top of the mountain. Why? Because the airport's going to be closed. And then the second half of the week, all I was thinking about is how terrible next year's Mountaintop Shabbat was going to be. And somewhere between the ecstasy on Shabbat morning and Thursday morning, my whole brain sort of shifted. And I didn't even notice the leap. Now, you don't need to feel bad just for me because, of course, this is how most of us are built. Psychologists call this the negativity bias, right? A bad thing will always land harder than a good thing of the same size, right? And it always will get ruminated on for longer, and it is always easier to retrieve later. And my thing that I retrieved this week was I forgot about the 60 good comments, and those 3 criticisms stayed with me all weeks long. Now, God, of course, understood the negativity bias when she wrote the book of Deuteronomy 2,000 years ago, because God, through Moses, lays out exactly that asymmetry for the Israelites with far higher stakes. So let me just talk for a second about how this week's Torah portion begins. It starts like this. See, this day I set before you blessing and curse. Blessing if you obey the commandments, and curse if you do not obey the commandments and follow other gods. There, of course, is that idol worship again. Okay, so now what you have here at the beginning of this week's Torah portion is a clean transaction. It's 1-to-1. If you obey, you will be blessed. And if you transgress, then you will be cursed. But if you keep on going a few more chapters, then we get another list of blessing and curses. And again, it's 1-to-1. Obey, you will be blessed. Transgress, you will be cursed. And then there is a switch. Because at a certain point, the blessings simply stop. And all of a sudden, we get this tremendous list of curses. They go on and on and on. If you screw up, you will have drought, you will have disease, you will have defeat, you will have siege. There will be page after page after page of curses with no blessings across the aisle to answer for them. But what's so interesting is right at that moment where the 1-to-1 correlation between blessings and curses give out, the text stops. And it tells us exactly why we're about to get all of these curses. This is what it says. It says, because you would not serve the eternal your God in joy and gladness over the abundance of everything. So I want us just to sit with that for a second. We are cursed with all of these extra curses because we failed to notice the abundance that we already had. So in this text in Deuteronomy, at least, what cursed means is not that bad things are happening to you, because bad things happen to all of us all the time. But instead, what cursed means is the inability to register the good things that are happening to us alongside the bad. And so blessing is then indeed the opposite. It's not that good things are happening to us, because indeed good things happen to us all the time. A blessing is when we notice the good things that are happening to us, even when bad things are happening to us as well. So I am cursed if all I can think about is that one measly buffet And I forget to think about that extraordinary Shema that 680 of us said together on top of Ajax proudly as Jews. And I am truly blessed if I can say to myself, okay, we made a few mistakes, but oh my God, on top of that mountain, all of us together, that is the image I should truly be holding. So by now, those of us who have heard all of my sermons about Deuteronomy know what's happening in the Torah right now, which is that Moses is desperately trying to give over to the Israelites all of these pieces of advice before he dies and they go into the promised land. And so perhaps that is why he and God are actually doubling down on the blessings and curses right now. Because one of the things that Moses and God knows is the posture that we hold today about curses and blessings is the posture we will use to build a different tomorrow. And here's the problem, because here is where our human wiring works against us twice. Because not only does the bad land harder, the bad is also easier to believe. Now, I learned about another psychological theory this week. This is called the availability heuristic. Does anyone know about this? I did not. This is what it means. It means the easier something is to picture, the likelier our gut insists it is. This is why people fear plane crashes much more than car crashes, even though, unfortunately, everyone, we are all much likelier to die in car crashes than we are in plane crashes. Because curses are much easier to picture and therefore easier to mistake for likely. We are much easier to think of a curse and believe it is going to happen than we are to think of a blessing and believe it is going to happen. So the writer Rebecca Solnit, she names this trap very precisely in an interview about her new book that is about to come out. It's called The Beginning Comes After the End. She talks about pessimism and cynicism and doom and what she calls doomerism. And she says they are all the same move. And what she says, they all assume that we know the future and that therefore, because the future is going to be terrible, nothing is actually required from us in the present. Whereas the truth is, we actually have no idea what's going to happen in the future. And therefore, there is a lot that is required of us. And that is the trap that all of these curses set in front of us. And that is the trap that I fell into when I started to think about how terrible Mountaintop Shabbat is going to be next year. Because all of a sudden, I was able to let myself off the hook about Mountaintop Shabbat because there's no way that it could be as good as this year. But in fact, that's not true. So here is a second possible definition of a blessing and a curse. A curse is what we get when we treat a bad outcome as the only possible outcome, and we stop working to make a different outcome true. And a blessing is what we build on purpose out of a future that nobody has actually written yet, even though the airport is going to be closed. Which means this time next week, everyone, it will be Elul, and we will be turning our hearts to a new possible next year. The whole future is open to us, and we can make it a radically different one, and a one that is entirely blessed, and that is not small at all. So what I'm going to try to remember as we turn our hearts to 5787 is that the next time I hear 60 compliments and 3 complaints, I'm going to try to remember the compliments, and I'm going to always go back for that one extraordinary Shema on top of the mountain. Shabbat Shalom, everyone.